Hi, everybody. Welcome to our roundtable on International Internship Awareness Month. I'm super excited to be here with Nada Haddad. She's an attorney who's had internships during her undergraduate career and her law school career. I'm also excited to be here with Ryan Atwell, who is the Associate Director of Internships at Marymount Manhattan College, where I attended university. I loved Marymount. I had a fabulous, fantastic experience, and I'm super excited for him to talk to us about how students are getting internships now, especially in light of COVID. So I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves, and I'm going to ask you guys to just tell us where you're from, what you do exactly, and a fun fact about yourself that the audience should know. Nada, why don't you go first?
Okay. So my name is Nada Haddad. I am from Tampa, Florida. I am a licensed attorney. And something fun, a fun fact about myself is that I am a first-generation Lebanese in Tampa, and I speak English and Arabic.
I didn't know you spoke Arabic.
Yeah, I speak Arabic. I speak a little bit of Spanish. It's not that great. I understand a bit more, but the Arabic one is the language is the most language that I'm comfortable with.
Can you read and write as well in Arabic?
No, unfortunately. I've tried to teach myself, but life just kind of happens. So
there's
always my list, right? The list of 1,000 things to do.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be hard because the sunny weather you guys have in Florida, I would just be on a beach the whole day, just reading fiction and having a blast.
It is, I'm not going to complain about it. That's for sure. But yeah. Summer months come, and trust me, you wish that sun was not as bright as it is. It's brutal when you step outside your house and you have your hair done and you just got out of the shower and you're feeling good, and then boom, there's that humidity shower, wet.
Well, I might take you up on that offer and just come visit this summer.
Yes, you should. Absolutely.
Ryan, tell us where you're from, what you do, and a fun fact about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Atwell. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services and Internship Programs at Marymount Manhattan College. I'm originally from Maryland, a small town north of Baltimore, but now, been in New York for 8 years now. Currently live in Astoria. And a fun fact, in undergrad, I was a theater major, and my sort of entire career path shifted, and I guess I'll talk about that a little bit throughout this. But yeah, I was a theater director, and studied directing, and part of me is a little happy I made a career shift because of the pandemic. But I still get to work with those students in that population, which is really exciting to me and a big part of what I love about my career.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of professionals who work or interface with people have a sort of performance or theater background. I studied musical theater. I did musical theater growing up. I actually found a video of myself performing at La Mama ETC. La Mama is an experiment. It's a great experimental theater company here in New York. And I'm an attorney now, but I spent 10 years studying, musical theater and wanting to be, the next Liza Minnelli. So I think that it'll be interesting to talk about our backgrounds in how we have used theater to be who we are today. So the first question I want to ask both of you is, why should a student or a young professional seek out or not seek out an internship? Ryan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think the obvious one is to gain real world experience, which is what I think we all think about when we talk about internships and students think about pursuing internships. It's getting that hands-on experience to take what they learn in the classroom and put it into practice. But I also think of them as career affirming opportunities, where you're getting the chance to practice and do something that you have this idea that you want to do, but you actually get the chance to do it and see if you actually like it. And one of the benefits of an internship is that you can spend a semester, you could spend a summer, you could spend a year doing something and say, oh, this is what I really love doing, or also realize that I don't actually want to do this. This is not what I thought it was. And I think those are some of the better experiences, because you don't graduate and start working a full-time job and realize that, oh, this isn't what I want to do, but the job search is a full-time job in and of itself. So to have that realization without the safety net of being in school still is a little bit of a scary decision. So internships allow you to, to confirm those career choices a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, I agree. Nada, you mentioned to me that you had an internship in undergrad, which led to full-time employment. Based on your experience, do you think that it's important for students and or young professionals to seek out internships?
Oh my gosh, without a doubt. I completely agree with what Ryan was saying to, every last word. My internship in undergrad, I knew that, at a young age, I wanted to go to law school. And just like what you were saying, Ryan, I found it so important for myself, at least, to be able to have these opportunities to experience, like, if this is what I want to do as a career for the rest of my life. As many of you know, Elektra in particular too, law school is not cheap, right? It's an investment in ourselves, and if it's something that you want to do, the best way to do it is through an internship. And so I was able to utilize my university resources, and they matched me with a law firm that happened to be right across the street from my school. So I'd walk the street in between classes and go to my internship and do my work, and it gave me great exposure. And particularly in a career path that might have different areas, you can use those internships as an opportunity to try out different areas within that career path. So internships are, to me, just as valuable as gold, and it's really all what you make of it too. It can be as trying or as fulfilling or rewarding as you like, or maybe not that great.
Yeah, I actually had 3 different, I strongly believe in internships. I had internships in undergrad. I hire interns routinely to serve as interns. Some of my interns have been hired on to be staff members, either as assistants or paralegals. So I strongly believe in the importance of what you said, Ryan, like affirming your profession, but also, making mistakes early on in your career with trusted professionals who are going to guide you. That's how I see my role in my firm, to kind of just mentor and guide them to make the best decisions, whether they choose to move on to law school, which I'm very happy one of my interns is moving on to law school, or whether you want to work in a different type of firm. Maybe you don't want to work with artists and creatives like I do. But I had an internship while I was at Marymount where I was working at Super Nanny. And I will be forever grateful for that internship, because it really taught me one of the most important tenets of my work ethic, which is to always do great work. Even though I was an intern, they did not treat me as an intern. Mm-hmm. I did not go and get coffee and run errands. I literally was working on productions. I was doing editing. I was doing transcribing. I was an active member of the team, and they treated me accordingly. Conversely, I interned in a law firm right before applying to law school, and that was a horrible internship where all I was required to do was run and get coffee, and I learned absolutely nothing. So when I started my own firm, I vowed that I would never, ever ask anybody to go on a coffee run for me. In fact, I do the coffee runs for everybody in my office, because they're here to learn, to make mistakes, and to really get to know the profession. I believe our profession is an extremely noble profession. I'm very proud and happy to be an attorney, and very proud and happy to yet mentor and work with interns who potentially want to be attorneys as well. So with that being said, what is the point of an internship? Is the point to seek employment, or is the point to really get to develop real life skills to put to the test? Nada, do you want to answer?
Sure. I think it's a combination of both. The point of it to be able to seek employment, yes, in the extent, like, again, looking at it and seeing, is this an area of law, for instance, or is this, maybe there was at one point where I studied journalism, and I thought that's what I wanted to do with my career, right? And so getting involved with writing and working with newspapers, or just doing freelance work. I have a passion for event planning. And so I would just volunteer. I kind of made up my own internship, right? And people tend to forget about that. Like, internships don't necessarily just have to be through your school. You can do it on your own. And so anytime that there was an event, a baby shower, a wedding, a birthday, I took it upon myself. I wanted to do those things, and I wanted to plan them. And I really enjoyed that. So it was a way for me to also build my resume, right? Because maybe I couldn't get those those internship opportunities. Sometimes internships can be very competitive. And so you have to kind of be a self-starter in a sense and figure out creative ways to build your resume on your own. So yeah, internships, can absolutely seek to employment, seek to employment, or, just an opportunity to learn and really immerse yourself in what it is that you think at the time that you're passionate about or that you're interested about. And I can't stress enough, it's really on you too, to make it the best version, or time with that company or firm or whatever it is that you're doing as an intern, to get as much value out of it as possible. Take time to research the company. Take time to research the people that you're interviewing with for your internship. Figure out their background, what it is, ask those hard-hitting questions. Hey, how did you get to where you are? And so even if, maybe your area of law, what you're specializing in, Elektra, for your interns may not be what they want to do, but maybe your story helped them to get to where they want to be in the future, right? Or just to get that insight. So to me, whether you're seeking employment or whether it's just an internship, to kind of solidify what it is that you want to do, because this is it. I think that both aspects are great. So.
Not 100%. I really wish you could consult with career services offices at different universities. I'm not going to name drop the universities that I work with consistently, but they are the students really need this support and really need this training, because we don't see it a lot in this entrepreneurial spirit that you're talking about. I really think that if you were to give speeches and talk about this, that the students and the staff would really, really benefit from this.
That's actually a great idea. I haven't thought about that. And, maybe I will look into that and check in, because my alma mater is right down the street. But now with COVID, what the great thing is that maybe this is something that, Ryan, I would love to talk to you about in the future, and we could put something together. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I completely agree. And it's something that we talk about and I talk about with students who are pursuing internships. Like in addition to gaining that experience and gaining those skills, I really also think of internships as a way to build your network. Yeah. And so it's important to do those things in the interview to, set yourself apart and learn more in the process, but also having career conversations or informational interviews with your manager, with the people on teams that you collaborate with as an intern, and sort of learn about how they got into the industry, how they, what their career path is like. What do they see themselves doing in the future? What do they see the industry doing in the future? And those things really help students, I think, prepare for life after and really get the full scope of what the industry is like and what it's like to work there and what they need to do after the internship. And those conversations can lead to informal and formal mentorships, which are incredible to have throughout your career, especially as a young professional. But they can also lead to, someone saying, hey, we don't have a position at our company right now, but my friend who also works in marketing has a position open and I'll recommend you, let me know when you apply. And so having those conversations and letting people get to know you as you get to know them really help, lend itself to helping you take ownership of your career after the internship. So I completely agree and always happy to chat about those things. So I think students like when employers tell them these things, more than us. I think a lot of times students think of career services offices as like getting a job, getting an internship, or resume cover letter reviews. But that real world advice, I think, has more of an impact when it comes directly from an employer's mouth sometimes.
Ryan, you used the term informational interview. Can you clarify what that means? Because I've never actually heard of that term before.
Yeah, so informational interviews are, it's basically a career conversation. So you ask for 20 minutes of someone's time or 30 minutes. If you're lucky to be in person or social distance, you could grab coffee with them. You could set up a Zoom call or a phone call. But it's a chance for you as a professional, you as a student, and these can be done at any point in a career. I just think they're really beneficial when you do them in the internship step too. But you're asking for 20 minutes, 30 minutes of someone's time, and you yourself interview that professional. And so you're asking them questions like, how did you get into this field? What is your role at the company? How does it mix with these other departments? Any question that you can think of that's career related, that could help you understand the field or help you in the future, and also get advice like, what did you wish you knew? What is one thing you wish you knew when you were in an internship, or when you were in undergrad, or when you were about to graduate? And it's a really great way for students to build relationships and expand their network, but also deepen those relationships with their manager or partnering departments at an internship, that can really leave an impact on those people and help them in their career in the future.
Such great advice. We got a comment from a viewer, Neo Totoro. Neo Totoro has said, let's all band together and make sure all internships are paid, no more free labor. Which leads me to, this is, I think, a very interesting point. Ryan, do you want to talk about how students view unpaid internships versus paid internships versus school credit internships, or maybe not getting anything at all in return for internships?
Yeah. So my thought is similar to the comment of that. I think internships should be paid with the caveat of whenever possible. I think, for-profit organizations really should pay their interns. And sometimes it's difficult for nonprofits because of their funding. But I think we should get to a place where they are also providing some kind of compensation to a student. And even if that's, a small stipend or paying for travel, paying for meals, those kinds of things really go far. Because with a diverse population and the demographics that are coming into college now, a lot of students tend to be from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and are really disadvantaged when it comes to pursuing internships that are unpaid. They either make a choice between pursuing an internship to help them gain the skills and get into the field, or they make the decision to forego the internship and get a part-time job so that they can pay their rent, help their family, whatever that situation is. And so it's a hard line. And it's really hard on the students to pursue unpaid internships. So at Marymount, we actually have a stipend that students can apply for if they're pursuing an unpaid internship at a nonprofit or a government organization. And so we try to help offset that cost by giving students $1,000 for this semester. It's not, in some cases, it's not what minimum wage is, but we hope that it helps them in some way so that they can choose the internship to gain the experience rather than having to not settle for a part-time job, because those provide important experiences as well, but they're not giving up the opportunity to pursue an internship. And then at Marymount, you can do credit in either way. So you can do it if you're paid, you can do it if you're unpaid. And credit really lends itself to having the support of the university, having some kind of reflection built in with a faculty member, or at some universities and colleges with the Career Services Office. And it just allows the student to reflect a little more on what they're doing in the classroom and how they're putting that into practice at the internship. And then you have the support of the university as well. If something goes wrong, there's a concern, the college is there to then help the student sort of navigate through that as well. I know that was a long-winded answer.
No, and it ties into Neo's newest comment. I remember losing money on gas to get to my internship, losing hours of my actual job to be available, and losing my sanity working for free. And I think this really highlights the experience that some people might feel when they are interning, because as a student, probably Nada can speak more on this. You've got to juggle your studies, you've got to juggle your living expenses, you've got to juggle networking in a very competitive environment. So I think that it's important to highlight his sentiments and his comment. Nada, what do you think about paid and unpaid internships or internships for credit?
Well, I raised my hand earlier because I can empathize with you, Neo, 100%. I had to work full-time and go to school full-time and, juggle and making those decisions between paid internships, unpaid, or ones that were related to credit. So it's really, at the end of the day, you have to make the decision for yourself, right? And take a look at each opportunity individually. If you do a paid internship, is it really aligned with what your goals are in the future as far as a career goes? If you do an unpaid one, that's something that you really have to think about. The same question, is it aligned with what your future career goals are? What kind of doors is this going to open you up to? You know, what kind of people are you going to meet? Is this something that's worth investing your time and your money and your effort into, and balance and your sanity, right? First and foremost, balancing all of those things and making it work. So for me, it was getting the opportunity to intern on Capitol Hill while I was in law school. It was unpaid. I got it for credit after initially it was denied for credit, right? So I had to really fight to get the credit hours approved for that internship. But it was work. I mean, there's no amount of money in the world for me, and you make it work. Yes. Did I take out loans in order to be able to do that? Absolutely. But the people that I met, the experiences that I had, the insight that I was able to receive, I mean, it's worth its weight in gold. So Neo, I understand that it can be tough, especially when it comes to unpaid internships, but make that decision wisely. You know, really research the company that you're doing this internship. Talk to some of those executives that you can, informative interviews. I even use them as an adult. Now, in present day, I'll just reach out to people. LinkedIn is such a great tool that I just reach out to people if I have a question about something that I might be interested in pursuing. I use that opportunity and I use that tool and that resource to talk to those individuals at length. And so again, it's really a balance of, is it worth my time? Can I make the time? Can I afford this? And am I willing to make those sacrifices in order to be unpaid during this internship? For paid internships, I've had paid internships. They don't pay you all that much depending on what you're doing, right? So that's another thing. You know, sometimes is it really worth the money at the end of the day for you? Because it may not be the right fit. Even though it's a paid internship, it may not be the right fit. And then the credit ones, that's always great. I love that Marymount offers those extra, incentives. That's wonderful for the students. And it's so important to be able to have the school on your side, and especially supporting the students. I had an instance while I was in law school where I didn't have the support of my career services counselor. And I literally had to fight tooth and nail to get that externship, we called it, right? So I would encourage all career counselors to really work with their students and sit down and have those, conversations at length with them. How can we make this work for you? If this is an unpaid internship and you can't get the credit hours, right? What can we do to make this happen for you? So maybe you're not dedicating 30 hours a week or 15 hours a week at that internship. Maybe it's only 10 hours a week. Maybe we find something that's only a mile, down the road. Or like in my instance, like I said, it was so fortunate that my internship in undergrad was right across the street from my university. So I could walk back and forth, in between classes, or right after class, I'd go into the office. So those are all things I think that, you should take into consideration. Unpaid, naturally, I would love to see all these interns getting paid. But again, Ryan, I agree with you. With the nonprofits, it's a bit tough as far as budgets go to be able to support interns on a paid level. But, you have something to offer, right? So people are willing to pay you, and maybe initially it's not going to be a paid internship, but like I said, for me, it was just an internship, and then it led to full-time employment. So make that sacrifice in the short term, maybe, if it's worth it, if you really thought about it and were able to come up with a good plan, and in the long run, it's going to pay off, right? That's my 2 cents.
I agree with both of what you're saying. Just to give a little bit of background on myself, I'm from New York. I went to school in New York. My last 2 years, my first year I was in Texas, and I worked. I actually organized my schedule so that I had classes 2 days a week. So I was in school from 8 to 8. And the rest of the week, I had free for work and free for internship. And Saturdays and Sundays, I babysat for a very wealthy family where I was working double shifts because I had to pay my rent. I had to pay my rent. I had to pay my cell phone bill. I had to pay for pay for my films. I made 2 films when I was in college. And I taught myself to understand that there are different types of currency. So all of the internships that I've had, I've actually never gotten paid for. But because I wasn't getting money, I was able to get different types of currency in exchange for my labor, right? That can be letters of recommendation. That can be growing my network. That can be, for me, what was most important was getting that experience and being able to name drop those companies on my CV and being able to have those bullets of my achievements, so that if somebody were to ask me, what did you do at Super Nanny? I can give you a very thoughtful answer and convince you of my expertise so that I can get that job and impress you and move up the corporate ladder. So that's how I approach it. I know that everybody needs money because this is America, this is the world, everything functions on money. But there's other types of currency as well that you can use to your benefit. And for the type of employer that's a good fit for you, which Nada was saying, a very recurring theme in her discourse, it can eventually lead to full-time employment. I will say I've hired people because they did such a great job. I did not want to lose them, and they are now part of our team. So examples of barriers to economically disadvantaged students. I grew up super poor. I come from immigrant parents. My parents were undocumented until I was 21 years old. I mean, I am the definition of a poor family. And yes, I had to make sacrifices. I lived in a studio apartment, a basement studio apartment in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, when it was not cool. But you know what? I always told myself it's temporary. I'm just going to be here for college. And I had bigger goals. I knew that this was just an ingredient in my pie. And this is something that comes up a lot when I look for interns. They're always looking for paid internships. But from the employer's perspective, when you intern in my firm, you are not running coffee. You are actually working on cases. You are learning case law. You are learning how to write like I do. And I'm an excellent legal writer. This is why people come to my firm. So it takes me a lot of time to train you, right? I am making an investment in you, and that's what you're getting when you're coming into our firm. So training from an employer's point of view costs a lot of money and a lot of time. So you might not be getting money in terms of your, like, I don't know, $15 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is or whatever the legal requirements are for an intern, but you're getting other things. And I would encourage interns to really have an open-minded view of what they can do with different types of opportunities. I've had interns who say, listen, I don't want to work with artists. I'm not into theater. I'm not into photographers. And that's great. But they've also told me it's because working with you, I know I'm one step closer to what I want to do in my career, to what my goals are. I think you're great, Elektra, but this is not the sort of professional career that I want to do. And that knowledge and that experience is really priceless. So I would say, I mean, coming from a millennial, I'm a millennial. You've got to pay your dues, and you've got to put in the work, because people my age or a little bit older, we haven't had paid internships. And that doesn't mean that you can't excel in an internship, and that doesn't mean that you can't do other things simultaneously. Nada worked full time with an internship. I worked full time during the week, and I worked 24 hours on the weekends. It is possible. It's hard, but I always tell my team, if you just accept that things are difficult, you're like one step closer to what your goal is. Everything is hard. Nothing is easy. And another thing I would add is I wouldn't focus too much on money at the beginning of my career. I, as a licensed attorney, when I moved back to New York, I was making $15 an hour, and people were laughing at me. Colleagues were laughing at me. You're making $15 an hour as a licensed attorney. And I told them, I don't care, because I'm going to run my own firm one day. And now I run my own firm. So people who laughed at me for making $15 an hour are still working at those old firms. And now I run my own firm, and I have a very robust internship program. So money is not the be end, all end at the beginning of your career. I'm not saying money is not important. Money is important. But when you're at the beginning of your career, there are other really interesting and important competing themes that you should also explore in addition to money. Does anyone want to add? I know I spoke for a long time, but does anyone want to add anything?
I do, actually. What's to say, Elektra, you made all, excellent points. I would like to say, what's to say that when you sit down, you can bring that to the table, right? Why don't you, I think, depending on how it is, right? When it's an internship through the university, it's a little bit different. But if it's an internship that you're finding on your own, you have that room to negotiate with the people that are going to be hiring you as an intern. There aren't any rules. You can say, hey, look, I am going to come in here and work for free, but this is my situation. I'm willing to give you this. And this is what, if you've established something coming into that internship, show them, look, I've got, a 3.8 GPA. I've booked, well, I'm using law school terms now, but you've got high remarks in marketing. Let's say you're trying to get in with a marketing firm. You've aced every course that comes into marketing. And one project you were supposed to develop this tool, and you present that tool to that company that you're looking for an internship with. This is what I've done, and this is what I bring to the table. And again, if it's something that you see yourself, it's a company you see yourself in the long term, right? And you want to get a job there. These are all bargaining chips that you can use at the table and present that to them in a professional manner. I'm not looking for an hourly pay rate, but how about if you're doing marketing, you want to work on one social media post a week that you say, hey, would you pay me $10 for that social media post? And for every like that I get, pay me a penny on for every like, or something, something ridiculous.
Great ideas. Great
right?
ideas.
So these are all things that you can think about, that you can bring to the table when you're going into your internship and you're interviewing with them. But what I can stress the most, or what I cannot stress the most, is you need to be professional, right? So if you've never gone into an interview and you've presented something and you're bargaining with them, sit down with someone that can guide you prior to going into that interview and say, okay, look, this is what I have in mind, and this is what I'd like to present, and to negotiate with, right? Negotiating skills are so key and so important, and to talk to people that understand the art of negotiation and present that. People will pay, understand. People won't pay you because if it's given to them, why would they need to, right? But if you come to the table and you say, look, this is my value, this is what I'm worth, this is what I'm going to offer you, and this is what I'm going to bring to you, then they're listening. Then they're going to be, their ears going to be open to you and say, okay, what do you got? Let's hear what you got. And at the very least, you presented yourself in a professional manner, and they consider it. And if they don't, decide at the end of the day that they're going to pay you, that's okay. You tried, and it's great practice. All of these things that you're doing right now are just setting you up for success in the future and down the line, like what Elektra was saying. It is different types of currency. You are learning all these skills. You are learning all these great tools that you're going to use in the future in whatever capacity. Even your interns, Elektra, that at your firm, maybe they didn't like, the type of law that you're practicing in entertainment law and working with artists. It doesn't mean that you can't say, hey, I see your potential. I know this other attorney uptown that specializes in the area of law. I'm going to send a personal email to that attorney and make a personal introduction, to see if there's anything available for you. So Neo, I get it. I waited tables even through law school. I was waiting tables. So that's another opportunity. I know now it's different with COVID. It's a bit tough. But get creative. Scholarships. People, it's such an underutilized tool. Go with your people at school, at your counselors, whoever it is in financial aid, talk to them. Say, what scholarships can I apply for? Tell me where there's a site. At my time, it was like FastWeb, I think, scholarships. I don't know if that's still a thing, but you could get on FastWeb, and they had a whole slew of scholarships that were available to students. So take advantage of that. Find someone that would be willing to invest in your future even. Like, there are people out there, it's just a matter of getting out from behind the computer screen. And I know now it's a bit more difficult, but because we have tools like what we're on right now, platforms like this or Zoom, you can interact with people face to face without being physically face to face, and just start that conversation. I cannot stress that enough. It's just a matter of taking that step and believing in yourself and having that conversation. That's all it is. Ask. Sorry, I know that was long-winded.
No, I think this was...
But I'm really passionate about it, obviously, if you can't tell.
I think that you gave such great advice, and the central theme is, the entrepreneurship of the self. Like, if you are entrepreneurial and you are, seeking out opportunities from everywhere and, connecting with like-minded people, doors will open. And I think that you're absolutely right. Ryan, do you want to add anything before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll add quickly is less student-focused and more employer-focused. But I do think that the conversation in the employer world does need to change and to start to encompass paid internships more. I think every experience has value. Volunteering in and of itself is unpaid, but has incredible and tremendous value on the resume. But I think internships go a step further, and there are different situations. Everyone's in a different situation. But I think really some of the best and brightest minds have to work full-time or part-time in order to support themselves or support their family. And so for an internship to be paid, it really allows not only the employer to have the best candidate pool that's not exclusively white, but also it allows that student to then pursue an opportunity that they might not otherwise have had, or have had to have chosen a smaller company who is, more willing to work with the student on the schedule or something like that. So I think it's more of an employer conversation that needs to be had as well, in addition to, I think, making sure that you're going into it as a student or young professional with that entrepreneurial mindset and trying to strike a balance that works for you in the moment, because things won't change overnight. But I think the conversation needs to continue to happen amongst employers, saying we're going to give this in exchange for students interning outside of the experience itself.
Yeah, as an employer, I will say, even though I'm in New York and it's super competitive, I get requests for internships from people all over the world, from law students, grad students, and undergrad students. I actually don't look at experience when I'm hiring people, when I'm hiring you as an intern or whether I'm hiring you as someone to be a part of our staff. But the candidates of people, I've had people come in with sneakers. I've had people not ask me anything about me. I've had people not know anything about my firm and what we do and what we stand for, what our values are, when it's splattered all over the internet. I've had a lot of students come unprepared with the expectation that I'm going to pay them. It's like, you don't even know my last name or who I represent. You're not worth it to me. And we have to be very frank about this. A lot of students are not utilizing internships in the proper way, which is to network, to get experience, and to leverage this experience for once they get a full-time job. So each company is different. I am the type of person or the type of employer, I really value honesty. I really value people who are determined. In fact, my law school intern this summer is somebody who just I'm very busy, but she emailed me constantly to follow up. She knew what our firm did. She wants to work here, even though she's interested in different aspects of immigration. So I think that although, company cultures need to change with regards to internships, I think that interns need to step it up and realize this is a very competitive world. And they need to be able to sell themselves effectively, because you're not just competing with people in your hometown. You're competing with people from all over the world who want that professional experience. The other day, I just got a request from someone from Germany who wants to come work for free. I mean, this is somebody who's from a different country is demonstrating that they just want that experience. And if you're competing with people like that, you need to bring something to the table that's going to make you stand out and be exceptional.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I think that it's important for students to do it as early as possible, so that when they're, when $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 is on the line for getting a full-time job, like a part-time internship that's paying minimum wage or a stipend, may not seem as important as $80,000 when you're graduating, but building those skills now is extremely important, so that when it does come to, this is how I'm fully paying my rent, this is how I'm paying all of my bills, this is how I'm moving out, getting my own place, starting a family. All of those things are extremely important, and students definitely need to sort of get their acts together about that in some senses. Some are more prepared than others, but I think that's one of the reasons why students really need to take advantage of a career services office at their institution. It's part of your salary, or it's part of your tuition. You're paying for it as a student. You should use it, because if you're not thinking about these things of doing research on the employer before you go in, you embarrass yourself, and then you can hurt your chance of getting the job, or hurt your chance of getting another job outside of that, because it's a big world, but it's a small world, and people talk. And so if you're not prepared, someone with a friend at another company could say, oh, this person was not prepared for this interview, so maybe you shouldn't hire them either. So you definitely need to put in the work as well.
So how should one prepare for seeking out an internship? What are your top 3 tips, each of you, for seeking out an internship, in terms of the best websites, the best companies, and then once you get that interview, what do you need to do to ace it? You can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think to narrow it down. I think the first thing is to narrow down your search. Some students come into my office saying, I want an internship and I have an interest in marketing and social media. I love fashion. And they're just giving all of these different lists. But it's really hard to conduct a specific search when you're saying, I'll take anything. Like, you can't prepare appropriately. It's hard to bounce back and forth between research on companies, but also the industry. So I think conducting sort of one narrowed search at a time. So if you're interested in marketing, but you're interested in sports marketing, so you want to do marketing for a national team or a minor league team or whatever it happens to be, really focusing on that, learning about the industry, learning about those companies, doing your research ahead of time, I think is so important, and will just help you in the search so that you're not frantically looking around and like, where do I go to look for these things? Speaking of looking for things, I think some of the best places to find internships are, I think LinkedIn is a great place for sort of the more traditional corporate world. And I mean, there are a variety of sites. One of my other favorites is idealist.org. Which is a really great place for nonprofit and sort of like everything from arts to immigration to women's rights. It's a really great website for students trying to get into that world for both internships and jobs. And then I think, what's my other, I don't know if it's necessarily a site itself, but really taking advantage of your network and asking the people you know. So everyone from career services office to your friends who have had internships at places that you want to intern, to faculty members, to staff outside of the career services office. I think really utilizing your network to say, hey, does anyone know of an internship in this area or in this industry, can really help you go far, because that person might know the person who's looking for an intern and can connect you directly. So don't be afraid to ask people, hey, do you know of any opportunity? Because it can, the hidden job market, which are those jobs that aren't posted, is like 80% of the jobs that are out there. And so just by asking one person, a few people to connect you with someone that they know at an organization can be a really great way to get your foot in the door, to get the internship, to get the interview, or what have you.
Nada, your top 3 tips?
Yeah, all of those are excellent points, Ryan. I agree. And I would say, first and foremost, utilizing your friends and your family connections. Tell them, hey, look, I have an interest in this. Do you know someone that, works in this particular industry that I could just sit down and have a coffee with? Most people love to talk about themselves, y'all, okay? Everyone loves to talk about what they've done and what they've accomplished. And it's not that difficult to get that sit down. It's this trade-off. What am I going to get in return? So utilize those friends and family connections first and foremost, because they know you personally. They can reach out to people personally and put in a good word for you because they know you and they know the other person on the other side that they're going to connect you with, right? So they'll know if it's a good match, ideally, or not. Second thing I would say, the internet is your best friend, right? Especially nowadays. Internet is your best friend. LinkedIn, I've been very successful using LinkedIn, just connecting with people, doing those informational interviews from people that have, maybe regular jobs, if you will, to pretty high level people, just randomly reaching out to them and saying, doing my research ahead of time and saying, I know that you've done this. I know that you've done that. I'm interested in this, pursuing something similar to you. Would you be interested in, having a 15-minute phone call with me? Facebook. Oh, just the other day, I connected someone. I didn't know the person. I'm part of several professional Facebook groups, and this individual posted in there, I'm looking for an internship. I tagged 4 of my local attorney colleagues here in town in that post, and 2 of them responded. So who knows where that, and I didn't even know the individual that was looking for that internship opportunity that was also unpaid, right? So getting part of those groups on Facebook that are maybe niche areas into what you're interested in. Idealist is a great tool. I've used Idealist. I love it. And lastly, what I'll say is, believe it or not, volunteering. I have met more people in my lifetime volunteering for different organizations and spending time with people that have similar passions, right? And work to bettering different causes or raising awareness of different causes that way than most other ways. So I would say really number one, friends and family first and foremost, and then getting out in the community. I know that's difficult now, but there's other ways, you know, virtually that you can volunteer and raise awareness and connect with people. And now that, you know, things are starting to open up a little bit more, at least in Florida for us, y'all, I'm not sure how it is in New York, but you know, socially distancing and getting involved in activities like that, whether it's volunteering with your school and clubs that your organizations and clubs that you're involved with, or getting on to, I think Idealist also offers those volunteer opportunities. There's tons of local websites that kind of work as this home base, if you will, for other nonprofit organizations that are looking for volunteers in whatever capacity. So that really helps a lot. And also I would like to stress in doing all of those things, a handwritten thank you card to every person that you meet, to every person that you connect with, to every person that you intern with. I cannot stress the amount or the importance in doing that, to really show people that you are thankful for their time, because time is something, to me personally, time is money. If I'm giving you my time, I want to know what we're doing here. You know, my time is very valuable and very precious. As I know that you're trying to figure out yourself and navigate the world, you know, I'm happy to always talk to people, but it makes it that much more worthwhile when someone takes the time to handwrite a thank you card or write an email even and say, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight, you know? So I'll leave it at that. You know, those are the three things that I think are pretty important tips to use when you're seeking internship.
I completely, the thank you note, thank you email is something that I stress at almost every workshop that I do. It could be like writing a resume, and I'm talking about writing a thank you, because it's truly so important and it can really make or break the opportunity. So if you're asking for 15 minutes of someone's time, they might, if you don't say thank you, they might not want to help you again in the future when it comes to finding that internship or getting the recommendation. And it's so important in the job search or internship search that even after the phone screening round, that you're sending that recruiter a thank you email. You're sending everyone in a group interview individual emails that are, you're talking about something specific you talked with them about. You know, make notes during the interview, and when you send them, say, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. I really loved what you said about X, Y, and Z. I can't wait to be a part of the team. You know, it doesn't have to be a long, it doesn't have to be a book, but making sure that you're taking the time to really thank them and sending an email within 24 hours after doing an interview. And then if you have access to that person's address, then, you know, send them the handwritten thank you. And even if you're worried now that we're in COVID that maybe, you know, they might not get it because you only have the office address. They might not get it because they're working from home. When they go back into the office 3 months later, 6 months later, and they pick up that mail that's on their desk, they'll think of you again. And it'll even leave a stronger impression that you took the time to send that thank you. So I agree with you, Nada. I can't stress it enough either.
So I will give my tips. I think that finding an internship should be treated as a full-time job. So the first website that is my go-to website is barefootstudent.com. And it's a really great website because, you know, employers are serious because we're paying a premium to post the ad. So you'll probably get high qualified or high level employers that you can reach out to. The second one, and I cannot stress this enough, is like kill two birds with one stone. Reach out to your alumni network at your high school and at your university or your grad school, or all three if you've gone through the whole process with high school, undergrad, and grad school, because what you're doing is you're creating connections and you're putting it out there that you're looking for different opportunities. If an opportunity doesn't come out of it, you made a connection that it's up to you to continue to cultivate and develop over time. I always say nobody likes to be contacted for a job. I hate when that happens. I want you to like flatter me and want to talk to me and get to know who I am, because then I will be more prompted to deliver value to you, right? Because that's how we develop a relationship and develop connections. So barefootstudent.com, super easy. It's free for students. Your alumni network at high school, undergrad, and graduate school level. And number three, professional organizations. So students who join professional organizations get a discounted rate compared to the actual licensed individual, licensed professional. And I'll give you a prime example of a very successful situation of my paralegal. I'm a member of the City Bar in New York City, which has over 20,000 members. It's the largest bar organization in the state of New York. I'm super active there. I used to run the Immigration Lawyer Circle. I'm on a couple of different committees. I love the City Bar organization. I talk about it all the time, and there was an opportunity for diverse students, and I reached out to my paralegal because I know she wants to go to law school, and I said, go, contact, join. So she ended up, even though she's not in law school, we were able to get her the student membership, where she's not a law student nor is she an undergrad. And she's now on their listserv. So all different types of opportunities and events that come up, she gets the emails, and she's only paying $25 a year compared to what the professionals pay, which is like 200 or 300 bucks a year. Number two, she is very entrepreneurial. And because she's been a member, I think this is her second or third year, another opportunity came up, and I encouraged her, go speak about your experience. And she ended up giving a speech to, I think, 150 high school students about her experience of being an intern at my firm and then a paralegal at our firm. So join professional organizations. They're everywhere for whatever you do. It could be marketing, social media, law, medicine, whatever it is. Join that professional membership because, number one, it's a double whammy. You make connections because you can participate in these professional activities and get your name out there. And number two, you're getting opportunities. And all of these two things, right, the alumni, reaching out to alumni and reaching out to the professional organizations, really sets the tone for your professionalism and makes you stand out. The one thing I will never forget when I started law school is when we had our orientation, the dean told us, your legal career as an attorney starts the day you apply to law school. And if you have that mindset, you will approach everything with a rigor, and I guarantee you it will make you stand out. So these three tips that I gave you are free. Even if they're not free, like City Bar's $25 a year, they're very, very low cost. And you can implement this immediately. You can get off this live and go immediately and join these organizations in your field and start to reach out to your alumni network and develop connections with people. After you develop the connections with people, deliver value. Don't just use people for their potential, what they can give you or not give you. Deliver value. What does delivering value mean? Figure out what they like or what they don't like. And, oh, I know that you like, I don't know, self-help books. You can read 10X by Grant Cardone. There's a lot of different ways you can connect with people. That's not just about, what the end goal is of getting a job. I will say, once you get to the interview stage, and I want to hear Nada and Ryan's thoughts as well. Once you get to the interview stage, here are my 3 tips. Ask questions. Really ask questions. The number one question I ask is there anything you want to know about me or my firm to help you understand more of what we do and what our value is? You really need to understand the culture of the firm or the company that you're working with to be able to position yourself as a great fit for them, as a strong candidate for them. So really ask thoughtful questions. And the only way to ask thoughtful questions is if you do the research. Number 2, it goes without saying, but please dress professionally. I've had people come to to my interviews in Uggs. Not that coming to an interview in Uggs is a problem, but that shows me that you don't really understand that we're a law firm where we're interfacing with clients every day. And being an attorney is a very sensitive profession. We really need to gather the trust from our client and gather the information to make the cases stronger. So dress professionally, ask questions, and follow up. I will tell you that I've hired people just because they followed up. I like that they were persistent. I like that they were driven, and that indicated to me that they would apply that same rigor to the work that they would be doing. So what are your 3 tips when you get to the interview stage, Ryan and Nada?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, I have to agree with you. I think doing the research is probably one of the most important parts of preparing for and completing an interview. Like you said, asking those questions is super important for the employer to understand that you've done the research and that you are interested in the position. But it also helps you situate like what you don't understand about the position already, and it can help you, address any concerns that the employer might have while you're right there in the interview. I think the big tip that I have for, completing interviews themselves is to use what's called the STAR method when you're talking about examples. And so some questions are, can you tell me about this position, or can you tell me about this? But for those questions that are like, can you tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult teammate or had X project or something like that, the STAR method is really beneficial. And you can find it online too, but quickly, STAR is an acronym for situation, task, action, and result. And so you outline the situation that you were in when, the example you're providing, was it in class? Was it a previous internship or other experience? What were you a part of a group? Were you by yourself? Those kinds of things. Then the task that was at hand. So what were you being asked to do? Or what project did you need to complete? What was the challenge you had, et cetera? Then action. What action did you specifically take to complete that task? So even if you're doing something as a part of a group, you really want to focus on, what did you contribute to the group work? What challenges arose? How did you address those as you were going through the project? And then finally, what was the result? So, saying, because I did this, this happened. And, walking them through the outcome of the project or the task, but also taking a minute to share what you learned. So saying like, if something happened and, looking back, we should have done this, or because we did this, we learned that we can then do this. Sharing with the employer what you learned as a result of all of the work that you did, and how you can take that with you into the future really shows an understanding to them of how you're able to self-reflect and take what you've done in the past and improve on it in the future. So I think the STAR method is a really great way to answer questions and a great way to write cover letters. We're not talking about that, but you can do a similar thing when writing a cover letter as well. So those are my favorite things about an interview too. In addition to, dressing appropriately, showing up on time, or showing up early is on time is early. And even in a Zoom room, getting there 5 minutes ahead so that, you make sure your connection is good, your mic is attached, your camera's turned on, the lighting is appropriate, all of those things, making sure that you've done that for a virtual interview as well.
I didn't know about the STAR method, and I will definitely research it and try to apply it when I'm interviewing people, because I had no idea of this methodology.
Yeah, it sort of just gives you a little bit of a formula to structure things so that you're not talking about every experience blindly or trying to figure out what should I talk about from this experience. It just helps you if you think sort of like analytically, or even if you don't, it just gives you a formula to respond to a question.
Nada, what are your 3 tips at the interview stage?
Oh man, I love everything that both you and Ryan, Elektra, that have mentioned so far. Ask questions for sure. Dress professionally. A friend of mine from law school said, if you look good, you feel good, right? So you want to walk.
100%.
Yeah, you look good. And that actually came from a softball game, believe it or not. Batter's up to bat, one of our teammates, and he goes, you look good, you feel good, baby. I didn't even know what it meant, but it stuck with me, and it's true. I've carried it with me. When you look good, you feel good. So whatever it is, but on a professional level. I personally like to add a little pop of color. People might disagree with me on that. I like the pop of color because I feel like it makes you stand out a little bit more. People remember you. They're like, oh, that's that chick in the, that's that woman in that hot pink blazer. I remember her, right? And if it's a color that's your favorite color, it makes you feel good about yourself. You walk in there with that confidence. I would also like to add, when you're doing your research, make sure you know the company's mission. Know the company's mission that you're interviewing for, because they're going to ask you. Now, I can tell you, I've interviewed for hundreds of jobs. What do you like about our company? What do you know about our company? Why do you want to come work for our company? Those are automatic given questions that I'm giving you right now that they're going to ask you. What is it that you want to do? Why do you want to intern for us? Well, I know what your mission is. Boom, your mission is this, and I feel like this is why I'm aligned with your mission. Why do you feel that way? Well, look at my resume, right? And then point to specific examples of work that you've done leading up to this point. Print out copies of your resume and bring them with you. Bring them with you, bring them with you, bring them with you. If you're doing it digitally, have a PDF version saved so that way you can drop it in the box and be like, here's a PDF version of my resume in case you don't have it in front of you. Also, if you're doing an in-person interview or whether you're doing a virtual interview, have a notebook in front of you. Have a yellow legal pad. I know that's like a, from an attorney standpoint, legal pads are our best friends, right? And when you're doing that research, write down the questions that you want to ask ahead of time. Research your people. They've researched you to interview you. There's no reason why you're not researching them before you walk into that interview. And you need to know at least 2 to 3 things about each individual person, whether it's a roundtable interview or just one person in front of you, about them, facts about them that you can ask them about. It doesn't have to be about the company per se, but something that shows that you've done your research and that you're interested in learning more and that you're serious. Showing up early, key, always, always. Sometimes things happen. So if you run late because of something, call. Even if you still might get there right on time, call. This happened. I'm sorry. I've got an interview scheduled for this time today. Please let them know that I'm on the way. This happened. I will be there ASAP. It looks a lot better from your standpoint when you call ahead of time to let the person that you're interviewing with, the company that you're interviewing with, that you're running a few minutes behind than just showing up late and giving an excuse at that time. And you're going to be more flustered anyway when you show up trying to get things together, right? So, and again, I'll stress the whole writing the thank you cards, the follow-up emails, whatever it is. And STAR, actually, I recently learned about that too. For us, Elektra, it's more of give us a situation of something that you experienced and what was the result. We never knew that it was called STAR. So I love that there's been something that's created that makes it a little bit more streamlined and understandable and easy to digest and help you prepare better for it. So practice questions. That would be the last thing I would say. If it's a really big deal, I would say, without a doubt, find someone that you can practice interview with that's going to ask you really hard-hitting questions, because when you sit in your interview and there's a bunch of softball questions, you're like, I got it. I already know. I know how to answer these questions. I'm good. And there's tons of free resources, I'm sure, with career services that they can offer you. I'm sure they have a laundry list of question bank that they can provide for you of what to expect for interviews. So prepare, do the research, have a notebook in front of you, write those questions ahead of time, prepare, and look good, feel good. Really, at the end of the day, it's about feeling good about yourself when you walk into these interviews, because they will know. And if you don't feel good, you're not going to do well. So look good, feel good, and just take it for that. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That's my 2 cents.
Solid advice, Nada. We've been over an hour, but this has been a great topic. Just to finalize or finish our talk, can you guys tell me the #1 positive experience you've had in your internships? Ryan, you want to go first?
Well, I think, so I was a theater major in school and didn't have necessarily traditional internships. But I think, and going back to sort of what I said earlier, I think the internships that I had really helped me realize that the working with student side, that sort of teaching, coaching side, was really important to me, and that I could have a career working with students in a creative capacity and working in a creative environment that didn't require me to pursue theater professionally, and that I was satisfied and happy and in love with what I do every day, outside of sort of the theater world. So I had a internship, and I was working with the artistic director of a theater company who had a 9-to-5 job during the day. I think he was in publishing, and was the artistic director of a theater company at night. And so that was sort of my first inkling into, like, you can have this kind of balance of doing the two. And then I was offered a position working in career services at Marymount. And it really balanced the two of, like, working with those creative students and coaching students in general, which I became really passionate about as I got more involved in undergrad. And so that sort of checked off both boxes for me, and I sort of found my niche career and my happy place in doing it. So internships are a really great experience to learn a variety of things about the industry, but also about yourself.
Before Nada goes ahead, I just want to read Neo's comment. He said, the best thing I learned from my internship is what office politics look like and how to manage those dynamics, as I was in a retail environment up until then. And I think that's a great point, that sometimes the office dynamics is something that we don't really learn about until our first job sometimes.
Yeah, I just will add off of that quickly. I think internships are a great way for you to understand office politics, but also how you like to or need to be managed. It's something that you really should think about, as you're going into the professional world, of like, what kind of boss can I work with well and will really help me? And then also, what kind of work environment is good for me? Like, I know right now a lot of people are in remote work, but do you need a office like a private office where you can close the door to get work done? Do you prefer an open office environment? Is a hybrid flexible? Some days in the office, some days remote, or entirely remote? Like, what's the best way for you to get work done? And I think internships allow for that as well. So just by bouncing off of that a little bit too.
Nada, what's your most positive experience as an intern?
Oh gosh, meeting people, honestly, like, and getting that exposure in what I thought I was really passionate about coming into that internship, and then understanding, yes, I might still be passionate about it to an extent, but it's not really what I feel like is most fulfilling to me, right? So meeting the people, making new friends, making new connections, and then really just getting that experience, honestly, like just being able to say, yes, I did this, that internship to me on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. was probably one of the most incredible internships of my life, to get that opportunity and to really see how our government works. Politics was important to me. Government, I have a bachelor's degree, I studied government. Naturally, I'm an attorney too, so that's where laws are made. And getting that opportunity firsthand to see how it works. And also what I'll jump off of and saying about office politics, Neo, and understanding the dynamics of office environment and how that works. Yes, coming into an office environment, corporate environment, from having maybe a hospitality or a retail background, it does give you insight as to how to understand how offices work and how to best prepare yourself for that, right? How do you act? How do you handle certain situations? Because really, whatever it is, you have to learn how to understand how to work with people and how to communicate with people and be an effective communicator. So whether it was in retail, where it gives you such a great advantage coming into an office because you deal with different personalities all day long, right? Hundreds of different personalities. Some people don't get that opportunity. Some people go straight from school into an office environment and they don't know how to handle other people's personalities. So it's actually a benefit. Sell that retail experience when you're interviewing places. Going back to that, I know I'm going into this tangent. I'm sorry, but I want people to be able to understand that there is a strength in everything that you do. Don't discount your background and think that you're not qualified for something because you worked in retail and now you're trying to go into a different sector. You're going into the corporate world, right? So everything that you do in your internship is important and it's valuable and it's transferable. Just broaden your perspective. That's all it is. And that starts with conversations and joining, and participating in sessions like this. I hope that you were able to take a ton away from here because I know that when I was probably your age, I didn't get a lot of this information and I wish I would have had it. So
lots of great advice. And I think that you're right. It's just like what they told us in law school, like your legal career starts now. It's like you are very serious about your career. You're going to take the steps to learn about internships and how you can utilize them to your benefit. For me, just piggybacking off like the retail experience, I had basically in college, I babysat and I tutored French, and that was basically my work experience. And what I really loved about interning was the structure, right? The going into the office and knowing what the expectations were of me and the different types of responsibilities that I had. And as a result of that, feeling confident and feeling accomplished with the work that I did on a professional level, and also the impact that I was making in the company. I never focused on my internship title. I more focused on the contributions that I was making to the project and to the production company as a whole. And that was so fulfilling to me. And it's an internship that I talk about all the time. The internship where I was interning in a law firm, like right before law school, not so memorable. The only thing it taught me was I don't want to be this type of attorney. I don't want to run this type of law firm. But I think that if you approach the internship in terms of what can I achieve for the company? What can I contribute to this project? You will see that whether it's paid or unpaid or for school credit, it is very fulfilling in the immediate future and fulfilling long-term when you're discussing those achievements with the STAR method at your next interview for your job. So, so yeah, I mean, this is a great conversation. We've been at this for an hour and 10 minutes. Any lasting parting words that we want to give to Neo and to everyone else that's been watching?
I think just talk with your career services office about how they can help. Talk with everyone you know about how they can help. I think really, speaking something into action and into reality is a big part of, making internships and experiences in general happen. So make sure that you're sharing with people that you're looking for an opportunity, or else you might not, you might not get it. You can't always rely on, searching LinkedIn or searching the job boards for something. So be open, talk to everyone, get as much help as possible from career services, from peers, from faculty, from friends, family. And I think you'll be set in, heading in a good direction towards your internship and job search.
Nada?
Be open. Be open. Sometimes you think you want to do something, right? And it may not be what it panned out to be. So really be open to what other opportunities are out there. And I'm a big fan of lists, So I try to write down all the things that I'm really passionate about. And after I, participate in, say, a forum or an internship in the past, I think about the things that I didn't like. So that helps also narrow down what it is that I really am working towards, right? So look at the things that you found that you may not have thought beforehand that you liked and enjoyed from what you were doing, and look at the things that didn't really, get you excited. And talk to people. I can't stress that enough. Really, talk to people, and also believe in yourself. Really believe in yourself. Things will work out. It may not be exactly how you think it's going to be, but it will work out, and trust in the process. It's going to be tough. It's going to be ugly, but I promise you, when you find your groove and your rhythm, it's just going to all open up and work itself out. So love yourself, believe in yourself, and be kind.
My parting words: be hungry, be curious, be open to learning, and have a voice. You are your biggest advocate. You are your biggest cheerleader. There is nothing that is outside of your reach. Do not pay attention to the naysayers. Do not get distracted by negativity. Stick on your road, whatever that road is: theater, film, being an attorney, being a doctor. Stick on your road. Be your biggest cheerleader. Have a voice, and everything will work out. Just like Nada said, trust the process.
I love that. Yeah, don't listen to those dream stealers, y'all. That's what I call those too. The naysayers are your dream stealers. Don't listen to them. When you've got something set in your heart, it will open up and it will work out. Just keep pushing forward. So yeah, absolutely.
So thank you everybody for watching. I hope that you learned a lot. There was a lot of really great nuggets of advice from Ryan, from Nada. I hope that you learned from my experience, both as an intern and as someone who hires interns. Tune in this Friday where we're going to talk about volunteering. April is also National Volunteer Month, and we're going to talk about the importance of volunteering and the social impact volunteering can have in your immediate community and the world at large. So thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you on Friday. Thank you guys for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.